Hello everyone, welcome to the 101% podcast where we talk about mindset, motivation, discipline, how to always push yourself, how to become a beast and how to defeat struggle. This podcast will help you to get a better life, that's 101% for sure. I'm your host Joachim and together with me is the co-host and my sister Annika. Welcome to this podcast. So good afternoon Annika.
Good afternoon.
How has your day been so far?
It's been great, thank you. I've been so inspired by you doing your push-ups every day. So I've started as well, me and my husband, every day, 101 push-ups, squats and sit-ups. And it's a great way. It just kind of turn on the lights, keeps me motivated and keeps me going. Very good, positive energy into the day. So that is a great start of the day.
Absolutely. A great way to start. You feel you have already achieved something when you just wake up. So that's a great way to start your day. So I see that you have a black eye, yeah? Have you felt in the shower again?
Yeah, you know me, I'm so clumsy. Yeah, no, this is from the sparring a couple of days ago. My teammate threw a kick just in the timing where I shot for a takedown. So I got his knee in my eye, in the top of the eye. But it was a very clean kick. A shout out to Ryan for being a great teammate.
That's great. So in today's episode, Annika will tell her story. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Let's get started.
Yes, we've been planning on telling our listeners more about ourselves. So it is kind of scary to just give me the mic and tell me to go because it's like inserting a coin in an arcade machine. I'll just rant for hours. But you're the host, you're the boss, Joachim, so you just stop me if I go too far away. But yeah, my story. I was born and raised in a small island on the west coast of Norway. I have very good memories from my childhood. I always liked to stay outside and play a lot. That's what I remember the most, playing outside in the forest, in the playground with all of our neighbors. And I have very good memories from you and our brother Patrick. You're both about 10 to 12 years older than me and my sister. So you were often gone on work, on the ocean. But when you came home, you always gave us time, which was so precious and something that I valued the most during my childhood. How you always took us out on driving your car. We were listening to music, talking about life, and I always looked so much up to you. So that was a huge blessing every time you came home, you and our brother. It was a great time. It was a good childhood growing up in a safe place, safe environment, going to school with the same people throughout the entire 10 grades. And I was very active. I was playing football, like soccer, handball, volleyball, climbing. I was doing a lot of things, always keeping very busy. And I really enjoyed it. I was also into politics for 4 years. I was in this board for youths in my island, being the leader for a couple of years and a representative for a couple of years. So I was loving to stay busy in all kinds of areas. And then when I became a teenager, I was hitting a phase of burnout for a really long time. For several years, I was having these symptoms of ME, or chronic fatigue syndrome. So I was in hospital for a little while, like checking if I had that diagnosis. And for a long time, I think I did. So it was a huge relief when I got to know that I didn't have that diagnosis, because I think a part of me throughout this entire process, I was so scared that I had it. So a part of me maybe believed it. So when I got that answer that I didn't have the disease, it was just my worries and stuff like that that maybe kept me burned out for a really long time. That's when I really got this reality slap, when I thought to myself, okay, but then I need to make some huge changes to not make myself into the same position again. Because it was a low burnout where my body was aching. I had a lot of physical pain. And just like getting out was really hard. It was rough for a long time. But it came in the wrong timing, you know. So after this down period, I traveled to the USA and happened to live with a really great family in Colorado where I went to high school. And that became a really great blessing for me, coming into another environment, just creating my own everyday life. I would wake up around like 5:30 to 6 every morning and train, workout before school. And then right after school, I would have my second workout with either like track and field or volleyball. And then just a lot of workouts on my own, strength and conditioning, and spending a lot of time in my own mind. And that was a period of time where me and you were very close, Joachim. We were talking a lot on the phone with each other. At that point, you started telling me about Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey, encouraged me to look into them. And I became really inspired. That was long before I thought I could ever do MMA. But it was just something about the brutality and how they went all in, 101% committed into the mindset and the technique and all of the aspects that fighting actually consists of. So being in Colorado was a really great time. I had the time of my life, which was very positive, coming in another environment, being with very good people. And after I came back to Norway, I started making different decisions, like starting to be more with positive people, positive environments, moving away to Trondheim eventually, where I met some of the greatest people I've ever met in this life. That has been some of the greatest blessing I have received in this life. It was a really good time. I stayed there for 5.5 years, studying social work and then taking some specialities in university as well about mental health issues, substance abuse, and domestic violence. And I always want to stay hungry, getting more and more knowledge. Social work is a very broad education, so I think that every social workers are responsible to always keep educating ourselves. We need to take specialities. We need to always read, always stay hungry. That is something our patients or the people that we will work with deserve. We need to stay on top of our game because working with people is so diverse. So that is something that really inspires me. And I'm looking forward to go back to that field after I have collected my belts in my MMA career. Yeah, so that was up until recently. Then I moved to Thailand this year in the beginning of 2024 and have never had it better, after coming here. I know I was talking about that in an earlier episode, how I just created my own bubble, how I live life to the extreme every day. I don't do anything that's not good for me. I don't do any haram. I don't focus on things that's not good for me. I only focus about positive things, associate with positive people, train a lot, feed my mind with inspiring podcasts, and just try to live life to the extreme because that's what I believe, and I cannot stress it enough. That's what we talk a lot about in this 101% podcast. And as we have mentioned before, I think going 101% is the only way to go because you deserve it. You deserve to keep yourself to higher standards and give yourself what you want in this life. And then you need to be so extreme. Then you need to only do what's positive for you because the ripple effect of that will benefit you a lot, giving you more and more positive things. So that is really important to me. And after coming here to Thailand, I have really enjoyed my life, training a lot, being in a good team here at AKA, having a lot of good people to look up to, having a great coaching team with really experienced coaches. Mike Swick and Tyler Dressler and Dylan Crushford is my head coach. So they help me every single day evolving. And just training at AKA, there is so much greatness lying within those walls. It keeps me super motivated, super focused. So I'm very blessed about that. And then I talked a little bit about it in an earlier episode. I also got married after coming to Thailand. And I knew Karim from back home in Norway. We met last spring. He contacted me on Instagram, sending me a message after he had seen my fight on TV. So we started talking a little bit, and then we met only a few weeks after in Sweden because we were fighting on the same event. And I was just so charmed by this guy. He was so special. Like I've never met anyone like him. There was just something so special about him. And I could tell in my heart that this was a really, really good guy, genuinely. Such a pure heart. So I really liked him. But I always thought why keep in touch? Because he lives down in Oslo and I live up north in Trondheim and I'm moving to Thailand soon. So I didn't really talk that much to him the next months coming, but he always stayed in touch. So we kept talking a little bit, and then I met him in Oslo and trained together with him a couple of days before leaving Norway. And he came to Thailand right after me to be in a camp here training for a few weeks. So we met every day. And he was invited to come to a tryout here uh, in Phuket. So he moved here only a few months after me. And then we hung out a lot every day, talked about everything. And he inspired me so much about how he lives his life, how his mentality is, how genuine he is, how pure his heart is. So after spending a lot of time together and getting to know each other more, we had that talk about the future. And he is a Muslim, and I wasn't a Muslim yet, but he inspired me a lot about how he lived his life, how he viewed things. So I spent a lot of time reading about it, reading in the Quran, talking to my Muslim friends back home. I had great people that I look up to, that I've been talking a lot about Islam for the past year and a half. So I started going on this journey, looking into Islam and seeing that so many of the assumptions that I had about this religion was wrong, because what I've learned in school and what I've heard from before on the news and stuff made me kind of be very skeptical of Islam. So after meeting so many Muslims that are really, really great people and inspired me a lot, it made me go on this journey to investigate it myself and find out what is Islam. And a lot of things just happened in my heart in the amount of a very short time. And my heart was fully open to it. And Alhamdulillah, everything happened in a very good way. So I converted to Islam and we got married here in the beginning of June. And I have never been happier. I'm really blessed to live the life that I live now. So that is mostly my story, how things has been for the last 26 years. And I think that now that I believe in something that's bigger than me, a lot of things is easier in my life than it was before. Like I said, when I was a youth, a teenager, I had many ups and downs in like burnouts and big emotions, creating very hard times for me. But now that I believe in something that's bigger than myself, and I have the Quran that guides me when things are tough, and I talk a lot to my husband about everything, and to you, Joachim, my accountability partner, and the great people I have around me, my best friends, my girls back home in Trondheim, and it just helps me understand what is important to focus about in life. I don't waste time thinking about things that is not that important to me anymore. So the weight of my shoulder has become so much less after I started focusing about only what's important. Before, I used to care a lot about what other people thought about me, but now I don't. I just think that there are so many people in life that actually doesn't want you to succeed. They are on the sideline watching every step you do, watching your Instagram, watching all of your stories, never giving any positive feedback. And before, that used to kind of bug me. I was like, oh, what does this person actually think? What about this story? Or what about this post I post? Like, I would be more insecure about what people actually thought. But now I am so blessed that I don't care about that anymore. That weight on my shoulder is gone and I feel so much happier. And I've thought a lot about why care about people's opinion that you wouldn't ask for their advice in life. And that is something that has been a game changer in my mentality. Why shall they bring any negative energy into my life when I don't value their advice or how they live their life anyways?
Absolutely. It's very much good point and good thinking. And if someone, don't like you, but they watch everything you do, they're still a fan.
Yeah, that is a good point, actually.
Mhm.
I haven't thought of it like that, but that is a good point. And I think for me, it stole so much energy back in the days, being so insecure, checking who had liked my post or who had said this and caring about other people's opinion. But I think that when you develop and as you grow, so many people will fall off and they will never give you their feedback. And I've just realized lately that I don't need it. I'm much more happier without it. If someone has feedback, they will send it, positive or negative. I will always be happy and accept it and say thank you for any feedback. But I'm not anymore canalizing my energy on wrong people. Negative people in my life has no room in my life anymore. So my circle is getting smaller. It's more and more quality in what I'm spending my time on, and I feel so blessed about that.
Great to hear.
And I've been thinking a lot about how my journey has kind of changed, and I remember this one quote. So when I was living in the US, I had a teacher, Miss Wolf. She was my English teacher, and every morning she would write this quote on the board. So as we came in, we would read it together as a class, and then we would reflect upon it for a couple of minutes. And I really enjoy that. You know me, I am kind of poetic, and I love quotes, and I love reflecting about those deep things. So this quote has stuck with me for many years, and I think it's very relevant for how things has become now. So I wanted to read it to you guys. And it goes like this. When I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. I found it was very difficult to change the world. So I tried to change my nation. When I found I couldn't change the nation, I began to focus on my town. I couldn't change my town. And as an older man, I tried to change my family. Now, as an old man, I realize the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly I realize that if long ago I had changed myself, I could have made an impact on my family. My family and I could have made an impact on our town. Their impact could have changed the nation. And I could indeed have changed the world. And I think this is a great quote because it teaches us how, as a youth, you are so ambitious. You grow up and you want to change the world, and your focus is so huge. But as you grow, you kind of fall short of the system, and you kind of realize that reaching out to the world isn't that easy. But working on yourself is the closest thing that you can do, and in fact the most important thing. And that is something I realized lately, that my goal in life is to become the best version of myself. I want to be the best Annika I can possibly be in all roles that I have. And that's why fighting is so important to me. I love it. It is a passion for me, and it makes me disciplined. It makes me stay focused, stay on the mats, and it makes me have focus on all the positive values in myself, like prioritizing the right things, nutrition, sleep, training, not doing bad things, focusing about only good people, good energy. And if I do that, I can impact my family and my closest friends, and they can impact their families and closest friends. And the ripple effects of that can, in fact, reach out to many more people. So that is my focus now, just focusing on myself, being the best version of myself every single day. It is a full-time job, always investing everything in myself. And I am very grateful for this arena that we have here, that we have created in our own podcast. The goal I have with this is to reach out to as many people as possible. And I hope I can inspire people with what we say and what we do. And that is the biggest wish I have, because that is what I think life is really about. Becoming the best version of yourself and bringing everyone else with you, inspiring each other, creating this community of champions, champion mindset, because I really wish that upon everyone, to become the best version of themselves, to be happy, to find true joy within themselves, to do things that's only good for themselves, and to bring up positive energy around themselves. So that is my biggest wish.
Great.
And I think that has also changed kind of my perspective on politics. When I was a teenager, I was very into that stuff, and I wanted to become a politician. And after, as the years has passed, I've just kind of realized that the system is, as I view it now, the system is very broken. I see in Norway, especially our politics, we don't have a strong system as they do in the United States, where it's basically just two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. In Norway, we have several parties that needs to go together as a cooperation to run the government. And then it's not that strong, because you have different opinions in each party, and they go together as one group so that they can be enough representatives to run for the government. And then you see within the 4 years that they're running, not too much changes are done. And then maybe the 4 years after, it's new color to who's running. And I don't know, I just feel a bit discouraged looking at the politics system now, and it's not a passion for me to go into that system anymore, but it is a passion for me to use my arenas to speak up, to talk about what is important for me, and to always be honest and hopefully inspire people. And in that way, affect the world in a positive way instead, because I have a lot more faith in that, inspiring individuals and together create a positive community, than to go into politics in a system that I view as kind of broken, to be honest.
So, what are some of the lessons you have learned that have been most important for you through your journey, through your life?
That is a very good question. I think it's mostly about just staying positive, focusing about myself, always putting in all effort in becoming the best version that I can, and always just spreading as much positivity as I can, spreading the truth, spreading good values and inspiration to kind of create this community as we're talking about. I think that's the most important lesson that I've learned, because before I used to focus a lot about things that is not that important in life, like who was popular or who did this or who did this. Now I don't ever talk about any drama or gossip, or it doesn't matter. And I was talking to my husband the other day about, I had this dream and it really impacted me. I woke up during the night and I could not stop thinking about this dream. And it just taught me that you're born naked and weak into this world, and you will leave the same way. So why do you value so much what brand of clothes you're wearing, or what car you're riding, or this? It doesn't matter at all. When you die and you go to Jannah, the paradise, or to the fire, or you're not bringing anything with you, only your soul, your mind. So I think the greatest lesson I've learned is just to not focus about the things that doesn't matter, like materialistic things. I focus now only about things that really truly matters in this life. So that is also why I have become so happy lately. So much weight is off my shoulders because I don't let people drag me down. I don't let people's opinions drag me down or fuel any negative energy into my life, because it's not worth it. I don't pay attention to that.
Great way to live. You get away all the noise and you just focus on things will make your life better. And that's so good for yourself and also people around you, because you became as happy as you can be now.
Yes.
And you feel a lot of purpose. So that's a great way to think.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's not easy. Of course, now I talk like this is easy, but that's not what I mean. I struggle. Some days I'll struggle with these things and I will feel that negative energy more close to me, and it will bug me a lot. But then I need to snap out of it. Then I need to go for a run, or I need to talk to my husband or you and spar about these things, because of course it's not like I've just achieved all of these things and it doesn't bug me anymore. It is a lifelong process. And what I mean is that some days it will still make it difficult for me, and then I stop, I focus about it, I correct it, and then it feels good. The weight is off my shoulder and I continue on with my day, So I struggle a lot less with it now, for sure. But of course, we need to always maintain. Challenges will come to us. We will stumble upon a lot of these things. So then, of course, we need to stay calm, face those challenges, and then move on. Remember what is important. Remind ourselves about this priority list and about our values.
Absolutely. So what would 26-year-old Annika like to say to the younger version of Annika? Something you wish you know back then?
That is a good one. I think 16-year-old Annika was in a chaotic life in a way. Big emotions, partying a lot, doing a lot of stuff that wasn't good for me, and I kind of lost track of my goals, my ambitions, hang around with the wrong crowd, focusing about the wrong things. So 26-year-old Annika would tell me back then that don't be so stressed, don't be so worried, and don't be so sad. Don't let these emotions discourage you, but focus about what is positive. Remember who you are. Remember this fire within you and let that light up, Don't be discouraged, but do positive things, and positive things will come back to you.
That's a great advice for a younger Annika. And no, yeah, you see, you are so reflected, you're so smart, you take so many good choices, and you really build up your character. But it haven't always been like this. Maybe when people see you now, yeah, they think maybe it was easy for you when you was a teenager, but it was not. Yeah, it's been a very hard and tough journey for you, and a lot of things you have did wrong, but you learn of it and you adjust, and now you come so far. So that's very good work of you.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And you have witnessed this entire journey. And as you say, it's not been easy. There has been a lot of ups and downs, and the downs has been pretty hard, to be honest. I'll not go too much into it right now, but life is tough. Life teaches you some lessons, and alhamdulillah for everything. Like everything that has happened has taught me a lot in this life, and I wouldn't be without it, because everything that happens is written. This was written for me, and everything that has happened have taught me great things in life. And a lesson that maybe 25-year-old Joachim taught 15-year-old Annika back in the days, that was very good, was that you told me to try to not be a victim of this chaos that I had in my mind. I remember you told me that I walked so fast and I stressed so much and I did 4 things at the same time. I always had this noise, this podcast in the background or the music, or I needed this noise around me, both in like noise but also activities, to kind of calm down because there was so much going on in my mind. And I remember you told me, and you inspired me a lot, because you had your shoulders down, you had your good charisma, your calmness, and you told me, but Annika, you need to handle this chaos. You need to be in a quiet area, only with your own thoughts. Light some candles or sit by the ocean, or you need to handle this chaos not by muting it with distractions in activities and noise, but you need to handle it by thinking about what kind of thoughts is going through your mind. And that lesson taught me a lot. As I've said many times, I spent a lot of times in my own mind this past year, especially, and also the last few years. In the beginning, the only time I could feel peace was when I was in sparring, when people were beating me up and I was beating them up and we were going hard at it. And that says a lot about the stress level that was in my mind, how sparring just mutes everything. It was awesome. I love it. My coach used to say that it is like a chaos, but you want to be, it's like a storm. In the eye of the storm, it's always quiet, but around you, it is going around and around. And that is how it is in sparring. I felt so at peace. But now I've learned to find that peace in my everyday life. I don't need the noise and the chaos around me. I feel at peace with my own thoughts. And that has been for sure one of the most important lessons, because that of course affects the heart rate, which again affects the longevity and diseases and your body. And this is all about maintaining your own health. So now I look into the Wim Hof method of breathing. I look into meditation. I visualize a lot. I sit in quiet areas a lot, only in my own mind, and I feel so at peace with myself. So for sure, that are some of the greatest lessons I've had, and I'm very grateful for that. And you have, of course, given me a lot of lessons along the way. We've been having these champ talks and this good communication for as long as I can remember. So that has been important for sure for my journey.
Thank you so much for sharing this good advice. I'm sure many young people can be happy to know that and can use that in their life.
I hope so. My biggest wish is to reach out, as I've said, and to inspire. And I'm a very open person. I know that many people out there might have questions, or I hear some people talking about me and have assumptions about my life, and I just encourage people to not go around and assume and talk to me, call me if you have any questions about my life or something that you're thinking about, or if you need to talk a conversation with a friend, like please call me. I'm always here, and that is important for me as a human being, to just be here for people. I often share this on my Instagram profile as well. Talk to me, I care in general. So that will be my final words, I think.
That's so great, Annika. Very like to help, always would like to help people. So if you want to ask her, just ask her about something, and she have a good solution on the most topics. And I just have a couple of other questions for you, Annika, before you leave. If you have time in your busy day.
Yes, for sure. I always have time for you and our podcast.
Okay, that's great. So I'm not sure the English word, but good girl syndrome, Google's translation did told me. It's
Yes.
so many special young girl teens and like this, so want to do everything perfect in their life. They want to have only top grades. Everything in their life have to be perfect all the time. And I remember you was like this also when you was a teen.
Mm.
Yeah, you get a lot of good result, but it's so very heavy for you and you have so much pressure on yourself. So I just would like what advice you have for those girls who want to do everything perfect all the time.
I'm very glad you bring that up, Joachim. I forgot to talk about it as I ranted through my life story, but but that was a big factor in why I became so burned out. I was very dutiful. I was very respectful to all the things I had to do. I would do it 101%. And as we have talked a lot about in this podcast, that is great when you do something that will reward you back. But there are some things in life that you don't need to go 101% in. And I would go to school with the worst migraine. I would throw up because I had this really bad migraine and still go to school, but because I didn't want to be absent. Even in elementary school, before the teacher starting to track your absent, right? So I think I was way too hard on myself. I would always put other needs in front of my needs. I would go to football games and practices, even if I was having the worst migraines, because I thought about my team, or I would go meet my friends because I thought more about them than myself, even if I didn't feel like going, because I was sick. And of course, always pushing myself so hard in school and doing this. And I just think that life is short. We need to not stress too much, that affects the heart rate, that affects everything. A lot of diseases comes from stress, directly correlated to stress and how much you worry about things. And I am like this always. When I am at work, I will bring my work home with me. There isn't a day that goes by, even when I'm on vacation, that I don't think about my work and how we can improve. And as I've said, sometimes you need to go 101% because you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the people you work with. But I wish that when I was younger, I wouldn't always be so hard on myself at school. So if you're a young girl struggling with this syndrome, I think that you need to go into yourself and ask yourself, what is the purpose with your life? What makes you happy? What will make you proud? Where is your priorities? And then just focus on that. What do you give into these projects? What is your reward? Because if it is a project that doesn't really give you anything in return, it is not worth it. And that's what I'm trying to teach the people that's closest to me too, that sometimes we need to just not be so serious about everything.
It's a great answer. And I remember when you was young and you was on the school from you was around 13 to you was 16, and then you're gonna start to go in the city and continue your education. And then we have a talk, and I recommend you, yeah. In Norway, yeah, one is the worst grade and 6 is the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I recommend you, yeah, when you start in this new school now, you not need all 6s. You just can try to around 3 and 4 like this. Then you have more time to do fun in your life, and you have more time with your friends. And then you make this adjustment, and your migraine went down, and you have start to have a much better life. And you have 3 and 4, yes. You have 5 and 6 also, but before always every 6. So then you make some adjustment, and you still learn a lot, and you get your education, and your migraine get down, and the pressure on yourself went down. Yeah. So I see that you get a much better life, and you have it much better with yourself, and you did that. So that's absolutely a thing to consider for the young girls who want to do everything perfect all the time.
Yes, definitely. I'm very happy you say that, because that for sure made a huge difference in my life. When I graduated 10th grade, or like primary school, as the system is in Norway, I had more 6 than 5s, which is the best grade. So my average degree was like very high because I always pushed myself so hard. But as you said, why focus so much about it? I had tons of migraines, and that made things very troubled for me as a youth. My migraines are very correlated to my stress, of course. So as I grew up and went to high school in the US and went to high school in Norway, and even in my university degree, I didn't focus about getting all straight A's. I read and I did as much as I could to educate as well as I could, but I also focused a lot about my MMA career, my social life, and kind of, if you have many cups, you cannot pour all the water into one cup. So you have to kind of fill a little bit here and a little bit there. And then again, we're back to the priority list. If you get straight A's, maybe you don't have a lot of time to hang out with your friends. And what is more important to you? Of course, if your goal is to become a doctor and you need a certain average in degree, then maybe you need to prioritize that instead of socializing, of course, but then that is most important to you. So ask yourself, go into yourself, dig deep into your values and your passions, and chase what is going to make you happy in this life. We only got this one, so make it a good one.
Absolutely. 101% for sure. So then I have came to my last questions. I see the time flies, but very interesting to hear your story, Annika. Very great and interesting story. So thank you so much for everything you share with us and you put out there. So what are the values that are most important for you? Just short
On the top of my mind, I think honesty is so important to me. Staying honest to yourself, speaking up, saying your opinion, standing up for the people that needs it, being honest, being loyal to your closest people. Don't talk about other people behind their back. Don't fuel negative things, you know. We have a saying in Norway that sometimes it is like lighting grass on fire. So if you kind of go into a conversation and you fuel the fire with something, you have no control about how far that fire will go. So if there's something you're not sure about, don't say it. If there's a conversation that is not your business, don't play parts in it. I think just cut out all the bullshit, you know. I think my values is just staying true to yourself, honest and loyal, and of course focusing about what's right, speaking up, having good morals, staying true to your morals is very important to me, and becoming more and more important as every day go by, actually.
Great answer. You're crushing it as always. You always deliver.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah. So thank you so much for you sharing your great story, and you just put it out there. And when you put out thing in the internet, it will always be there. But I very appreciate that you're so honest and you tell us about your life. So thank you so much for that, Annika.
Thank you, my brother. Always a true honor being here on the show with you.
Same with you too. I'm so happy we have this business together, and is accountability partner and always push each other to make ourselves better. So I'm very happy for that. So today's episode was recorded 12th October 2024. In the next episode, I will tell my story. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram on this podcast account, the 101% podcast. If you like this episode, make sure to share this podcast episode with a friend and review the show on Apple Podcast. Thank you to all the audience for listening. We appreciate you all a lot. Hope that you will come back and listen to our next episode. Until next time, take care and give it your best.